I want to talk about integrating God into our lives. This is a really heated topic because the concept of God has just really been destroyed over time. So feel free to use whatever word or concept makes sense to you. But whatever that higher power is, for you. For me, I like the word God. So that's what I'll tend to use. But feel free just to filter it out and put in your own word. We study things like yoga. I teach Tantra now. And in the West, what we want to do is delete the God part, delete the divine part. Yoga, for example, asana is so beautiful to do postures. But yoga is a spiritual experience. The act of yoga, the act of yoking, of bringing together, is bringing together the divine and the physical. And we can do it through asana, through practices, through meditation. But yoga without the divine isn't yoga. It's awesome stretching classes, awesome strengthening. Yoga's great. But without the divine, it isn't the spiritual practice that was passed down for millennia, from master to worthy student. I teach Tantra. Tantra, so many of us want to delete the divine out of it. But if we don't include the divine in Tantra, maybe we're practicing conscious sexuality, consent, healing our sexual lives. That's awesome and it's so needed. But it's not Tantra. It's not the practice, the understanding, the goal that was passed along for millennia. It's the connection of the divine into the physical that changes everything and that creates miracles and that connects our every day-to-day life to the infinite possibilities that are out there. Right? I once heard a description of an agnostic versus an atheist. And an atheist they describe as someone who doesn't believe in God. And they described an agnostic as someone who believes in God but doesn't act like they do. And this is a lot of us, that we say, yeah, I believe there's more. I believe there's a master plan. I believe that we all came from something, or there's wisdom in the universe. But do we use that for guidance? Do we integrate that into every step? As we walk through and we get worried about something, do we stop and ask for guidance and connect to the whole? This is how we interact. This is when we become fully human. I remember reading the book Mutant Message Down Under by Marlo Morgan a long time ago. And it was called Mutant Message because she was a New York journalist or something doing a study of the Aboriginals in Australia. And it's an incredible book, actually. I really, really enjoy it. About what humans are actually made for. That we're telepathic, that we're intrinsically connected to the earth, all these things. And they basically said that people in the rest of the world are acting like mutants. They're not acting human. We're not actually accessing our whole being. And this is why we have to bring that back in if we want. And if we really want to be whole, then we have to integrate that back in. And it's no small thing, because it's sort of been beaten out of us. Even within the church, it wasn't integrated into us. I was raised inside the church. My grandfather was a minister, my uncle was a minister, and kind of due to politics and a lot of things that I also learned on the inside there, I was very angry at the church for a long time, and I just sort of felt like everyone was hypocrites, And one of the things that really stuck with me when I got sick, through the story of this book, was learning how to pray. And I was really angry about that when Jim mentioned that. And I was like, I don't want to learn how to pray. I'm so sick of these people, and I talk a lot about that in the book. But the key, how this really changes our lives, is it begins this integration process of all of who we are, our divinity and our physical selves. It's all one. It's not divinity running through us. It's all the same. It's impossible to understand. We can't actually wrap our physical brain around it. But this was the beginning. In the Christian faith, we're taught the Trinity, Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. But for whatever reason, and I'm sure we have lots of theories about this, but for whatever reason, the church has only taught the Father and the Son and the Holy Book, not the Holy Spirit. Because even when Jesus was dying, he said, I may be dying, but I leave the Holy Spirit to guide you. So this is that integration. This is that it's right here, and I recognize that this is sort of dangerous waters to talk about because, again, a lot of us have had really tough experiences with the church and this kind of language. But for me, I like this language. It's okay for me because that's what it feels like. It gives me courage. It gives me courage to say, this feels right. It feels like it comes from a higher place. But it's not higher. It's just not the result of my fears and whatever my little brain came up with. Maybe it feels like the connection into the master plan or the world web or the universal web. And it feels like truth. And I really trust that to guide me. I know the key for me is just bringing this into every moment, every decision, even thoughts. When my thoughts start going crazy in directions I don't want them to go, I ask for help. I close my eyes or I don't close my eyes, but I kind of close my eyes. And I go, I really don't want to be thinking about this. Because maybe it's fears. Maybe it's some crazy seed that got planted there. And I ask for help. And it works. And it brings me a lot of peace. And it brings me a lot of courage, too, to make the choices, to take the steps that I need to take. Because somehow, when I listen inside, it feels bigger than me. It feels bigger than the 49 years I've been here. It literally does feel kind of infinite, universal, whatever you want to say. And it gives me great courage to make decisions that maybe don't make sense, but they're really exciting. So I invite you, whatever your practice is, whatever your ritual is, whatever your spiritual beliefs are, to really think about how that integrates into every single step of your day.